Hi everyone. Am I going to send the camera? Oh, yeah, I'm going to be right here.
Yeah, stand
right
here.
here. Done.
Yeah.
All right. So we're from Sabby. We're here to talk about our sort of attempts to go from what is currently a community space into being more of a cooperative space that's owned by and for the members. Before we get started, let's do a quick introduction. I'm Nique, she, her. I got started with Sabby last year around sort of Global Game Jam. Went to their work in progress nights at the time. Was on and off until about this year where I started sort of picking up a bit more volunteer work and doing a bit more behind the scenes, and now sort of helping run a bit more of the rules and more of the sort of the side of things where we're trying to set up for the bureaucracy of cooperative stuff and having to walk through all the different hoops and everything, but learning a lot along the way. And with me is...
I'm Kira, she, her. I got involved with Sabby last year. I started going to the free co-working. That was a useful resource for me as someone who works on projects sometimes. I heard about a role that was available as a volunteer where you could make cool posters and stuff, and that sounded really fun to me. And then a lot of what I do now is comms, social media, so posting on the social media channels and stuff, organizing that, managing other people who do that too, and that's really fulfilling to me, and yeah, I love it.
All right. And we're here tonight to talk to you about how to turn your games community center into a co-op in 3 easy steps and 7 hard ones. We'll go through them. So you want to take off the first one, Kira? Cool. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, here we go. Step number 1, easy step. Convincing people that Sabby should be here, that it should exist, that it should keep existing. Sabby has hosted over 150 free events. It's actually more than that. This statistic is old. We've hosted over 200 days of free co-working. We've helped secure hundreds of thousands of dollars for local studios. So that's people who've come to events like our Whip Night or go to co-working. They make connections. People help them with their Scream Victoria funding and things like that. We've contributed over 100 zines to the Xenosphere and vanquished over a dozen Beyblades in tournaments.
Pretty heated tournaments.
Pretty heated tournaments. Yeah, insane, crazy. Yes.
So in terms of that, so like I mentioned, Sabby's a community center. You know, we're based out in Collingwood. We're sort of focused on trying to do anything we can do, what our members need. So that's everything from being a space that hosts events through to being in a space that sort of, I think recently we did a Sabby Jam where we had people come in and over the weekend sort of make games fairly casual, but it was a way for us to sort of facilitate people, you know, who wanted to do development work, who wanted to work together, who wanted to do all sorts. And we'll talk about some of the other stuff that's coming up at some point. But the number 1 hard step we've got is educating people about co-ops. So I think I saw a statistic earlier that like 8 in 10 Australians are actually technically part of a cooperative but don't really know what a cooperative necessarily is. And so as a result of that, we've had to sort of figure out ways to educate people about that, both because obviously it's important for us to communicate, hey, why we're doing this in the first place, but also just the concept itself is important, you know. We've had to sort of talk about the fact that co-ops represent like an alternative vision for how we can organize ourselves. And part of this has been things like sign-up seminars, which we hosted back in May, and we're doing another one week Tuesday, which are all about, hey, you know, this is the rules that we're looking at. This is what your involvement's going to be. This is what you get out of things. A pamphlet, we've got flyers we'll hand out as well at some point if you all have questions or you want to see a bit more. You know, we've got things that sort of explain the different steps that are involved, what our goals are going to be, and through to stuff like Kira does, which is social media stuff, pushes online from everything from posts that detail, you know, how we're doing things, what the rules are, what we sort of had to consider as we go through this. But why bother educating people at all? Well, without knowing what a co-op is, people aren't going to understand why it's important, right? You can't just ask people, hey, you know, we're going to do this now, you're going to be part of this now, and have no clue what they're buying into. We exist at a time in a context where, like, the most viable way for us to move forward is to spread out the current responsibilities we have. Unfortunately, and we'll get into this in a second, it's not necessarily viable long-term to concentrate in the ways in which these community centers work. The for the people, by the people means that, like, hey, there's a chance for us to turn this from something that's been going for about 3-4 years at this point into something that can last quite a bit longer. But with all that said...
What is a co-op?
Yeah, I'd be remiss if I didn't answer Kira's question, what is a co-op, right? So a cooperative or a co-op is a democratic organization owned and controlled by its members. Most people are used to a very top-down approach, you know, where someone at the top or your manager might be dictating or delegating to you, whereas a cooperative offers a chance for a grassroots approach, you know, a chance for us as a flat hierarchy to make choices, to decide what happens with our money, to decide what happens with our space that we actually, you know, are all part of. Everyone, as a result, within a co-op is important. Every single member has the same rights and responsibilities as anybody else in the sense that we want everyone to feel equally a part of the sort of cooperative that we're setting up, right? By becoming a co-op, we are able to better fulfill our community needs. like I mentioned earlier, we really try to strive to be what we need to be for the people who come through our doors. And so it makes sense to us to go towards a system where everybody can have a chance and a vote to sort of say, okay, I think this is the way we should go, or I think this is the way we should be looking at spending our money, or this is what we want to do with the space that ultimately we have, right? I think that the thing I have at the end here is specific, that being able to serve the patrons of the Sabby in a whole new way by inviting people in, rather than doling out, okay, this is what the experience is going to be. But let's talk about hard step number 2. Writing rules. I've never before doing this had to sort of look at laws and understand what legal stuff was happening with cooperatives. But now I kind of have to sort of have an idea of everything. And the number one thing I've learned is that a co-op is defined by its rules, right? Once we sort of sit around, figure out these rules, we've got to go send them to a registrar, they've got to go get formalised. In our case, the registrar is Consumer Affairs Victoria. And then if everybody that we're sort of proposing these rules to accepts them, well, then they become ratified. They become, a structure from which we then derive our space and what we do. So to that end, having our members agree to what they're sort of becoming a part of is a major focus for us. And so the rules are, formulated in very open forums, they're very transparent about what we're doing. And they're also rules that aren't settled yet. We're currently in the process of trying to secure memberships, and then once we have those, then we're going to be sort of saying, okay, well, now these are the rules that we're going to be living by. At least until next time we have a meeting and people vote on, changing things here and there, which is the point. It lets us be agile based on what our members want. The other thing is that, as far as we can tell, no other co-ops really exist like how we're planning to exist. We've had to sort of trailblaze a little bit here, where there isn't necessarily a game developer community space that exists that is owned by the people who go there, right? And thankfully, we have things like model rules, and this is, for anybody else who's looking to do this, model rules allow us to adapt something that means that we're going to stay, in compliance with 2 major pieces of legislation, which are the Cooperatives National Law and the Cooperatives National Regulations. And sticking to those and adapting those to what we need. So we've previously had a code of conduct, we're sort of slowly pushing into those rules. Doing that sort of legitimizes our status as a cooperative in sort of the eyes of the law, in a sense. But it kind of leads on to hard part number 3, which is convincing people to commit. There are 2 types of cooperatives out there. There's a distributing cooperative where people will apply in, say, a farmer's cooperative, where any dividends that are made by that cooperative are returned back to the people who are part of that co-op. But for us, as a non-distributing cooperative, because we're looking at trying to just, use all this money to help the community service that we're trying to do in the first place, it isn't so simple and so immediate to feed back to the members that, hey, look, you're going to be putting in membership fees and you're going to be getting out XYZ amount of dollars. Instead, we've had to sort of push for this idea of, we are generating communal value. We're creating this space that is, number one, free for members and for anyone else to sort of use and to attend events. It's free for things like hiring equipment, which we'll talk about in a second. But that is ultimately communal. That is a third space, a safe space for people that these spaces are slowly dwindling. And I'm sure a lot of people have had conversations about third spaces and how they're sorely needed at times like this, right? We're doing our best to facilitate that growth and to sort of help create these spaces so that people have them available to them free of expectation. To that end, I would also, again, be remiss if I didn't talk about the benefits to our membership and spruik that a little bit. So right now, we're in the middle of trying to move to a new building. Our current building is coming to end of lease. There's a whole bunch of issues. You can talk to us all individually about that, and we can live those all out. But we're moving to a new building, and part of that is going to be part of this process of securing ourselves a more stable foundation to do so. Everything from that to free rental from our libraries, free equipment hire, free venue for private events. We've had a few different launches that have happened there as private events. Everything from people launching series that they've been animating or games that they've been working on. Through to things like, the fact that we can have people vote on things, we can keep existing and let you guys have access to Updog eventually. Step 2, easy step, breaking square. Did you know you can't make a free trial that lasts until the end of the universe? Turns out if you keep throwing in 9 after 9 after 9 into the free text field there, eventually Square says, hey, when you go try and buy this, it ain't working. So we had to go on the night of our actual launch, say to people, hey, sorry, this isn't quite working. Turns out Square's not quite happy with us when we sort of put things, I think, a million years into advance.
999999999.
It was a way for us to try and do things that people weren't committed immediately to getting to sort of paying in. Ultimately, part of our process right now is trying to secure members and then get everything in order, get our house in order before we then, pull the trigger and go, okay, we're going to be a membership, we're going to be a co-op now. And as part of that, we set up free trials that just didn't quite work. But, lesson for everybody else, don't do that. Again, but talk about those membership plans. We were spending a lot of time going back and forth about how we sort of open things up for a lot of people. And as it stands, we've got 3 tiers now, and we've made it, gone to, like I said at the start, we really, really wanted to keep this flat hierarchy going. We've gone to lengths to create, within the rules, ways in which people can sort of approach this on different levels of financial contribution. So everything from a standard membership at $45 a month, through to Guardian memberships at $90 a month, through to concessions that are no questions asked, because of the fact that we ultimately want to exist as like I said, a no expectation space that allows people to contribute as much as they can, or as little as they can, There's a lot of room for anybody at Sabby to be able to do whatever they feel like they can do in order to continue advancing our space and advancing the community aspect of it. With that said, how's step number 4? Getting people involved for harder tasks. This is not unique to Sabby, this is not unique to cooperatives, but anything that relies on volunteer labour, it can be a struggle to do, people to do unfun, uncool tasks. It's everything from, securing members, formalising rules, doing taxes. We've done okay so far, but the process demands that we make changes, that we formalise our systems. So that's better project management, more volunteers, more robust roles for our volunteers as well. That said, I'll pass it to Kira.
It's me, Kira, I'm back. Everybody at Sabby is working really hard to make this happen. We all want the absolute best for Sabby, but obviously one big problem that happens there is burnout. We need to remember that this is a marathon, not a sprint. It's really easy to put your all into, especially when we have big events coming up, like when it was our co-op seminar, which was our launch for the co-op or things like that. Everybody put a lot into it, and then there was kind of, not a lot of activity after that because we all got burnt out. We all need to remember that it's more like, it has to be more of this sort of constant breathing in and out, this sustainable amount of activity and having breaks in activity. It's not about gearing up for one big swing and then getting winded afterwards. But why do we care so much? Why are we putting so much into this? It's not just about Sabby.
Hard step number 6.
Oh, thank you. 6, hard step number 6. Routinely, community organisers, they get burnt out too, and then their communities die. Large corporations ship a game, and then they purge their workforce. Private arts funding has halved since 2019, and state funding is not at sustainable levels. When we own our community resources and spaces, we can weather the storm, and we can, and we can avoid being taken advantage of. We can't change everything in the world. It can be difficult to make big changes, but here is somewhere where we can at least make this one small change together and make a big difference. And that's why I think a lot of us put so much into this. Hard step number 7, building and maintaining community. So in this era of social media, we use a lot of tools to try and stay in touch with our community, Discord, Twitter, Instagram, etc. But we're really at the whims of some of the quirks of how some of these functions. For example, on Discord, you can't at everyone as often as we would like to. We have a lot of events. This week we had 5 events. And we have to be careful at how we schedule these big ats we want to do, these pings we want to do to people. Parts of our Discord are totally hidden. Like we were saying, we've got this structure. We really want to be really transparent about how a lot of things work. But a lot of our channels are hidden on the Discord, which is really irritating. We have to keep constantly reminding people to go in their settings and unhide those channels.
Hidden by default as well. Not even by choice. It was,
no, by default.
We weren't allowed to
by
people.
default, If I make a mistake on a tweet, I did this month because we had a lot of events on. If any of the times are wrong and I have to delete that tweet and resend it, Twitter just goes, that was a tweet with no engagement, that tweet sucks, and it totally tanks our algorithm. And also speaking of algorithm on Instagram, we have no control over whether people see the posts that we're trying to share with people, that people have said, we're following you, we want to keep in touch with Sabby. So a lot of these things are really difficult. But we have had some success recently. One of our pieces of content went a little bit viral. Is it working?
Is that going to work, or is that going to...
Where am I meant to be? Oh, there we go.
It's not going to play on there, it's not in the presentation.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Is that not going to work in there?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well,
Check out the Sabby trailer later on Instagram. It's got like 30,000 views on Reels, so it must be good, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. The last step is so easy, even you can do it. That's step number 3, easy step number 3. Just engage with Sabby. You can come to our events. Tomorrow we've got Table Flip at 6 p.m. after free co-working, which is our board game night. We're doing Blood on the Clock Tower, sounds fun. This weekend we've got Whip, which is a bit like what they do here with the prototyping. People present the game in the presentation format, so a bit like this, and get feedback. And like we've said before, that's helped some people get funded games before due to the feedback, etc. Later on this month, we have another sign-up seminar. That's on the 15th. We've got a live version of the sign-up seminar for people that can't be there in person on the 22nd. Other events this month, we've got Sip and Sketch. So that's a drawing night. You get prompts, not AI prompts, not allowed at Sabby. No AI at Sabby. Yeah, you get...
on this one too. We've got fundraising streams coming up. We're going to be, look, for us, we've been pushing for this co-op stuff since about, I want to say February, even potentially even later. For us, this is a big run-up for us, and we're making a lot of chances to try and like do what we can to set ourselves up well. That includes things like, like what Kira's mentioning, all these events that are going on constantly, through to sign up seminars and chances to talk to us and have a chance to sort of see what things are about.
Yeah, and love it if you joined our Discord. That's, I think, the most active space for our community. We've also got Twitter, we've also got Blue Sky, we've also got Instagram.
And if there are any questions, if anybody's thinking of anything right now tonight, there are a few people floating around with badges that look like that, white, blue, and yellow, that are more than open to talk about questions. We've got flyers as well, like I mentioned earlier. Just a whole bunch of information just to get sort of an idea of what we are. But even if it's questions about how cooperatives are run or how you can set one up yourself, ultimately it's a lot of learning we've done this past few months, and that's sort of a large part of this too. But ultimately, the co-op principles themselves call us to try and share knowledge, to try and collaborate. And that's what we've been about this entire time anyway. So it's a chance for us to sort of have a chance to chat about that and share the knowledge. Absolutely. But otherwise, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for coming down. Thanks for having us. And,